All right, here we are with the final and, in my opinion, definitely the best of the figures in Wave 1 of the Super 7 TMNT Ultimates, Baxter Stockman. This is the guy that got me to start collecting the entire line. As I said earlier on another video, Bebop was the first one I pre-ordered, but while waiting for that pre-order to show up, I found this guy in FYE. And once I got him in hand, I thought he was awesome. And I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. I'm hooked on this line now. Originally, when I saw him, I didn't think I really needed him. Because I was like, I already have the vintage line. I have my vintage Baxter Stockman. I have my vintage Raphael. I don't need these. When they showed them off on Facebook, I believe I even commented on it. I was still using Facebook back then when they were showing off. Oh my God, I haven't used Facebook in years. Even then, I don't think I was using it that often. I remember commenting that, like, oh, these are cool. I really like them, but at the same time, I have no desire to collect these because I already have the vintage line. And, these seem like a cool thing for someone who doesn't have the vintage line and kind of only does, like, modern collecting. It's kind of a way to, like, get a modern version of the vintage line. But when I got him in hand, I realized how cool he was. I had already seen some reviews of him online, and he did look pretty cool. But it wasn't until having him in hand that I was really like, okay, this was a good purchase. This guy is awesome. He is highly detailed. Again, I would have liked them to add a little more new detail to him. Though I think there is some. I feel like his back, if you look at his back, where his arms and his wings are sprouting from, there's a lot of new, like, vein work and everything on him. He's a very veiny, disgusting, grotesque figure, and he always has been. He was one of the early pioneers in the Turtles line of gross out figures, and which would later be topped with figures like Scumbug and Muckman and Worm and stuff like that. So he was one of the originals. I think he and Trag and Rat King were probably the original kings of gross out in the toy line. They did a great job. He looks fantastic. I think in all ways he just looks like a modern version of the vintage one. And there's a lot of cool detail on him, a lot of stuff where you can see his human muscles kind of breaking through, like, the fly exoskeleton skin, and, like, every piece of hair is, like, just sculpted to look like a bunch of strands. He's got a lot of detail on him. He looks really good. The veins are all colored this, like, cerulean kind of color, which is true to the vintage figure. But they're definitely well painted here. But aside from that, and a little bit of a wash on some of the purple parts, like on his chest and his back and chin, aside from that, the paint is pretty simple. I don't think there's really any paint on his lab coat other than the white. His human hands are just a flesh tone, and his pants are just that, like, teal color. There's a bit of a wash in the hair, but for the most part, he's pretty flat colored, and they do a lot in this line, and I'm fine with it. I get it, they're trying to replicate what it looked like in the vintage line. I just feel like when you're buying these guys for 50 and up, then, like, there should be a little more oomph added to the figure, in my opinion. But he is awesome. I have no problem really with the sculpt. I think really the only thing I would say is I kind of wish the wings were done in, like, a translucent plastic. I think that would look a lot cooler. I know the vintage ones were solid gray, but that was just because, they had limitations. They had budget, like limited budget and all. I think this guy could have had translucent wings and it would have looked a lot cooler, and the purple splotches on his wings would have really popped against the translucent look. It would have made him look that much grosser, honestly. But they did the solid gray. Which I get. I think translucent plastic, I don't think it does cost more than regular plastic. I think Super 7 would be the kind of company to say that, whether it's true or not, like they did with the glow-in-the-dark stuff. But, yeah, no shade at Super 7, but, a lot of people take issue with some of the things they say, some things they claim about producing toys. But this is an awesome figure. I think my biggest complaint with him is just that he's too big. He's he's pretty massive, and I mean, you can't really see it here. And I do understand because the original figure, the classic one, you know, the Playmates figure had these squat legs like this. He had like, you know, like bent knees. And he was always crouching, and that's how I like the legs to look. He comes in the box standing straight up though, and he looks weird like that. I don't like how he looks like that. So I get that once you squat him down, he's shorter, but he's still big. He's still like taller than the Turtles. So I really feel like Baxter shouldn't be a big guy. Like in the cartoon, Baxter was like, he was shorter than the Turtles, and the Turtles were like chest level with April O'Neil. So it's like, this guy should be way smaller than this. I get they wanted like a big, crazy figure for the first wave because they didn't really have a big brute. They didn't have like Bebop or Rocksteady or Muckman or anything. They wanted that like big character. I just don't think Baxter was it. Honestly, I don't think he works well as a big character. He's a fly, and I mean, I know he's a mutant. Like, I know we have Killer Bee and Needle Nose in the original line, which they're humongous. They're mega mutants, and they're a mosquito and a bee. But I don't know. Baxter's always been a short guy. When he was a human, he was short. He was fused with a small animal. I just feel like he should always be small. But they made him really big, and it's a bit of a bummer. It is funny that he comes with this mutagen gun, which is actually from the cartoon show, and it doesn't have any details on it. It's just flat gray, which is very boring. But the NECA one, you know, if you have the NECA Toon one, you can see that thing in full detail, and you can see like, you know, all the different little animals painted on the dial and stuff. It's the same gun, they just didn't paint it. That might be laziness, which is the more likely thing, or it could be a legal thing where it's like maybe NECA had the rights to do the cartoon accurate gun, but they didn't. I don't know, but I think it's just laziness. But then this is when we get our first buddy, our first little pack-in buddy. We get a Mouser, and he's awesome. I love him. Unfortunately, you can't do that much with him. You can open and close the mouth, you know. That's always fun for Mousers. And you can move the legs and the head. The head is articulated. You can move the head back and forth or all the way around if you want to. And the legs are articulated, but they're not articulated at the joint. Like you can see there's like a knee joint there. They're not articulated there. And the foot is not articulated. It's just articulated at the hip. So you can't do that much with him. You can try to get like walking poses where you put one foot back like that and the other one down, but that doesn't work very well. I had mine like that for a few years, and he just always fell over. So I just have him standard standing here now, because it's really all you can do with him. There's kind of no reason to even have articulation if you're going to do that simplistic a job with it, unfortunately. And at some point later on, they made a Mouser pack, which came with, like, I think 6 of these guys. 5? No, I think 5. 6 would be too generous. I think it came with 5. I think it came with 3 identical to this, and then I think it came with 2 busted up ones. And I passed on that. These guys would be fun to army build, but I'm not paying $55 for a pack of accessories. And they threw in a bunch of other accessories you don't need. Like they put in more of the creepy, cute little baby turtle that comes with Splinter and stuff. But that really just, you know, came off to me as like, oh, that's just them trying to make an easy buck with assets they already have lying around. So I didn't get that one, but it is a cool little Mouser. Even like the inside of his mouth, I don't think it's really coming through on there, but he's got like texture in his mouth and all. It's one of the best Mouser figures we've ever gotten. It's pretty true to the wacky walking Mouser back from the original toy line, but you know, appropriately sized and all. He's not humongous. And a little better detailed. I thought this might be, despite the fact that it has garbage articulation, this might be my favorite Mouser we've ever gotten. I don't know, I like this Mouser. If I found the Mouser pack for like $20, nah, not $20, $15, I'd buy it. But I do like that he came with Baxter Stockman, because that's something that always bugged me in the vintage line as a little kid. It always bothered me that all Baxter came with was that stupid fly swatter thing. They're like, oh, we just put it in 2 different parts to make it feel like you're getting more than you actually are. It's like he's holding like an orange juicer with like a fly swatter attached to it. And sometimes the juicer looking part was like rose colored, and then sometimes it was the same blue as the swatter. Mine was always rose colored, but I always wanted him to come with a little mouser buddy. I never got why he didn't come with that, because in the cartoon, that's like the first thing that's established about Baxter. Like way before he becomes a fly, he's the guy who builds the mousers. Even in the original comic book, I didn't know about that as a kid, but that's how he's introduced. He's the guy who builds the mousers. So it's kind of crazy that he never came with a mouser figure, like little buddy, especially since that was such a big thing in the vintage line. And I know in Wave 2 it wasn't. That was like Wave 3 where that started, where we got Screw Loose and Fish Sticks and Joe Eyeball and all that. But it really always seemed like a missed opportunity that he didn't come with at least one mouser. So I'm glad they gave him that in here. That's a necessary accessory for Baxter. So even though, yes, I think the paint is a little weak and the articulation, like always, is very limited on Baxter, the fact he has all these different arms, these wings, and you can, make the legs all squat. I think he has good posability, definitely better posability than that garbage posability of the foot soldier. But I think he has good enough articulation, and I just think he's such a cool figure that he's definitely the most necessary thing from Wave 1 if you just want the really cool figures. Obviously, Raph is probably objectively the most necessary thing from Wave 1. But again, if you're just hunting for the coolest looking figures, the best of the best, this is the one from Wave 1 for you to pick up. He is definitely the masterpiece of Wave 1. Do all the liking and subscribing and the sharing and the bell stuff.